Hello, everyone. Welcome to this 27th episode of Feedback. We are so excited today to welcome the wonderful composer and performer Natacha Diels, along with our host for today, Laura Cox, flutist extraordinaire and member of Talk Ensemble. Today we're going to be talking about Natacha's piece from 2012 that she wrote for us, Panik Bread. As always, remember you can submit questions ahead of time by emailing feedback@yarnwire.org, or if you want to ask questions in real time, you can do it by joining the chat on Facebook Live or on YouTube. So, thanks again to both of you for joining us. Good to see everyone. And with that, I'll kick it over to you, Laura.
Great, thanks so much. So first of all, thanks to everyone here. Thanks to Natacha, and thanks to everybody listening in and sending us lots and lots of exciting and fun questions. Laura B will remind you this at the end, but on December 3rd is the next episode of Feedback, and that's with Klaus Long and Stephen Miles. So if you think you might forget it, you can subscribe, and then you absolutely won't forget it. So make sure to do that. As Laura mentioned, I'm a flutist and have worked with Natacha in many different contexts over the years. I think we actually first met in 2012, the year that this piece is from, that we're discussing today. And so, yeah, here we go. I'm wondering, Natacha, if we can just start with some kind of putting you on the spot, fun questions about your work. But in general, are there...
a lot over the years, but I guess... sorry, I wasn't quite ready for that one. I guess something that is kind of consistent is that I'm really interested in darkness and humor, and kind of trying to bridge that gap, and doing that through music and electronics and video and quasi-theater, I guess.
Nice. So
and also I'm really interested in writing like for specific personalities, and in the kind of collaboration that means that the pieces are written with specific performers in mind and specific personalities, and that's definitely been something that's been consistent for me.
Yeah. So when you were writing this piece, you have obviously Yarn Wire in mind. Can you or someone else jump in and describe how the initial connection here took place on a personal and professional level between you and between Yarn Wire?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had all known each other for a long time.
Yeah, it's like I can't remember not knowing Natacha, actually. I feel like she just always has existed in my consciousness.
She's always in there.
I feel the same way about you guys. I mean, not about me.
You've not always existed in your consciousness?
Yeah. I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe even though we had maybe worked together and played together in different contexts, but Peter Kotick actually might have been the kind of matchmaker for this piece. Am I remembering that correctly?
I think so. Yeah, Peter Kotick of SEM Ensemble fame, Willow Place. I think he like coordinated this whole thing.
Yeah, he was like, there was a performance happening at Willow Place, and Peter said, I think as not a stipulation in any way, but it was like a suggestion that this collaboration happens. And I don't think I remember exactly the method in which that communication was undertaken, but we ended up working together on this piece for a concert at Willow Place.
Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Peter Kotick is a secret behind the scenes
Impresario.
Impresario.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, shout out.
Cool. So I think it would be nice to just jump right into the piece itself then. The piece, Panic Bread, I just want to share a little bit of the program note about it here. The part about the program note that really focuses on the etymology involved here. Natasha writes, Panik, German, a fear which is so strong that one can think no more and mostly just wants to run away, to a primal emotion. From the etymology, the etymological root being Greek, from panikos, pertaining to Pan, the god of woods and fields, who was the source of mysterious sounds that caused contagious, groundless fear in herds and crowds, or in people in lonely spots. And then we move on to bread. 1, sustenance, livelihood. 2, one of the oldest prepared foods, a symbol of simplicity and stability in many cultures. So we combine these two terms, we get panic bread, an absurd conflation of panic and stability to simultaneous and equal thought processes, also to a Greek bread and pastry shop. And in preparing for this, I think there's also a museum maybe recently established called Panic Bread that is in a place called Panic, and it's a museum about bread.
Whoa.
So we'll definitely all have to go there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, right?
Field trip.
Definitely excited about that. So there's a few different work samples that we're going to listen to. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything else about the piece before we dive into those.
It was the Beyond Cage Festival. I remember.
Cage Festival.
Yes.
This was part of the
right.
Beyond Cage Festival.
Yeah,
That's
definitely is beyond cage.
Yeah.
It's
For
Beyond
sure.
Cage.
Oh, wow. I just made a connection. Okay, cool.
Cool. So we have 4 samples to listen to from the work that kind of identify 4 distinct sections of the work. And we can go ahead and start with this first excerpt. Great. So that is kind of emblematic of what I like to think of as section 1 of the piece. The next excerpt that we're going to see, and we're just going to kind of move through all of these so that we can have a larger discussion about the piece as a whole and give you, our wonderful listeners and viewers, kind of truncated, condensed version. So the second section of the piece that we're going to listen to, we're going to have to ask Ning some questions about, but we can come back to those. Here is excerpt 2. Great. So as we move right along here, for something pretty radically different, here is excerpt 3. That makes me so happy. That section just makes me
Wow.
so happy. And then, God, so elated. We're just going to cruise right into our 4th excerpt here. It's a little bit longer. You're really going to enjoy it, though, so just get ready. So,
We need
Good
to
shit.
stop eating.
Go for it. What do you got there?
yeah, Ning's got some good paprika chips. I'm wondering if someone wants to jump in here and talk a little bit about this last section.
I nominate Natasha.
I nominate Natasha as well. Okay, Natasha, you're going to jump in and talk about this last section here. Could you maybe fill us in on how the selection of the videos worked, how you picked what was pulled from the archives of the world, and how you picked what to pull from the archives of the yarn wire?
Yeah, the YouTube videos were just like, kind of the current or recent viral videos that, that like at Pamplemousse we shared on the tour van and whatever when we got together. And so it was just like videos that were in my recent memory that I guess I think about the sharing of videos a lot as like a band activity, and so that's why it was like Yarnwire was watching it together as a band, and then also like involving the videos of themselves playing to kind of make that video part of that document as well.
And how did you decide what kind of gestures the performers at Yarnwire would be doing in the videos?
You mean the ones that they were watching, like the performance stuff?
Or I mean, like Ning has got this great like. Russell just looks so disappointed.
Oh, well, Russell looking disappointed was all Russell. Actually, I think everything except Ning walking was just part of the performance video. Ning, do you remember why you were walking? I don't really remember.
Don't I need to like sort of march while I do the playing the Glock and singing?
No, actually,
singing. I wasn't really singing.
You can move around to dampen instruments.
Yeah, no, I think that the reason actually I wanted Ning singing was just because she had a different role from the other members of the group, and so I wanted her to be like kind of off in her own world. And so, yeah, I remember now. We just did like a little video of her walking in place. So
we did.
Yeah, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because it was on that white wall. Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah.
I do.
And there's like that one shot of me just like sort of want to run away or something.
Oh yeah, that's
that
weird.
was about.
That one's really excellent.
Oh yeah,
Really unexpected.
that's when you start muting the instruments. Actually, that's from the performance video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Good memory, Natasha.
Yeah, I have a great memory, like an elephant. Really, totally infallible.
So for the yarn wire people, one of the things that I think is always really fun about pieces in which you have to do something that is oftentimes involuntary when it's done is like how to get yourself to the point where you can like perform involuntariness. And I'm wondering, like, there were some moments where when I was watching this, where I just started cracking up, and I realized as I like watched it a few times that they were actually often the moments in which you guys were laughing too. And I found myself wondering, like, am I laughing because my friends are laughing right now, or like, am I laughing because Russell's disappointed face is so hilarious? And I was just wondering, how did you guys? What did it feel like to orchestrate the laughter here? Was it all natural? Did you just kind of feed off of each other? How did that feel?
I feel like laughter like you said, it's very contagious. So all it really takes is for one person to sort of snort a little bit and then everyone else loses it. That's often what happens. And then if Russell starts laughing, I can't stop laughing as long as he's still laughing. There's something about that contagiousness. Yeah. But I don't know. I think we all just also have really nerdy, offbeat senses of humor, and so we tend to find the same things funny. So it wasn't orchestrated, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like everything in this is pretty natural, except for the piece.
That's my singing.
You know what I mean?
Not natural.
But yeah, it just happens, and I remember playing it, and then Natasha, when you made this video, and we saw it for the first time, not the slow motion stuff, not the clips, but like the documentation of us playing the piece, which is also like a version of the piece, right? Because you see us watching it. Like I was just like, whoa, this is insane. But it's also like I knew each one of those. I knew the face I was making, and I knew like everyone's face and thing that you zoomed in on. I was like, wow, that was the thing to focus on for sure. And, you just, from knowing people, those things make sense. It's pretty cool.
So you mentioned the performance video with your guys' backs so that we can see the camera or see the computer that you guys are all watching these YouTube videos on. When you're doing it live in performance, are your backs still to the audience?
I think
Yeah.
so.
They were, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we watch
think
it on
so.
a computer or did we project it?
I think we
I think we
projected.
projected.
We projected
I
it,
remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is that has happened now is that there's this kind of meta quality to each performance in that we try to watch the video of us watching it in the next performance. So I don't know how many layers deep it is now, but at least 3 or 4.
Yeah. What I
versions.
liked is like the first time, like I really felt like we were kind of like members of the audience all of a sudden watching this video, but then we're also performing as performers, you know. So that kind of layering was cool. And then like Ian said, we've actually had some students play it at our institute over the summer, and we had them watch us in the YouTube clip. So yeah, I think there's like 2 or 3 layers in at this point, which is
Yeah, and I
kinda
guess
cool.
the question is now, like, does this count? We all just like
I think it
put
might.
chips together. Well, it's interesting too. I was thinking about this and like bread and like the idea of like you're gonna break bread with people or whatever. I don't know if that's like specifically religious or if that's more about like community gathering. But it's nice because in this way you're like breaking chips together. And I don't know, I thought that imagery is really beautiful. And I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the kind of connection with the audience. Russell, you had mentioned that like when your backs are to the audience and everyone's just looking up there and it's projected, that it kind of starts to feel like you're a member of the audience, even though you're also like eating chips and cackling. Did the audience start laughing with you guys? How did it feel like you were drawing the audience in? I'm just curious here about like the sense of larger community that it potentially established with the audience.
I don't remember the audience reaction.
I have a feeling probably some laughter. I'm sure some of you remember the premiere of this was the night that like New York shut down because of Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah.
The subway shut down.
The subway
Yeah.
shut down.
We have a
right.
history of performing in moments just before something monumental happens in New York City or the world.
It's true.
Oh, right from this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember it was a kind of special / odd, nervous atmosphere that night, Willow
Yeah.
Place. And I would imagine any moment of kind of laughter release would be like welcomed by viewers and listeners. So
As a performer, though, also, it's hard for me to remember the audience because, well, I don't know if this happens to everyone, but you know, like when you get home movies taken like on a camcorder and you think it's really funny and then you play it for like your aunt or uncle or like parents and you get kind of embarrassed and you laugh the most and you really want them to laugh too. Like it's like that also if you share kind of comedy sketches with people, you're like, oh man, isn't this great? Ah! And like you're really cracking up, but you're hoping they're also cracking up as much, but it's hard to have that resonance. I feel like when we're playing this piece, I'm like so excited by this stuff and I see that turtle and I just want to like crack up so hard, but I'm not sure that the audience is going to crack up as hard with me. You know, I think they will laugh, but in my memory, I'm just like, oh, and I'm like weeping inside, but also worried that maybe it's not that funny, you know? So I don't know. That's just my feeling when I play it.
Wow, that's like the
Natacha.
story of my life.
Right?
I was just about to ask you. Yeah, is there a goal for how the audience will participate in this section?
No, I mean, it's not really the story of my life. I don't like, I'm always happy when people laugh. But I don't really care if they do or not, I guess. It's fine for me either way. Like, I don't think I ever try to make people laugh because I don't know, that's like not something I really am going for, but I'm always really happy when they do.
I feel like one really interesting thing about this piece is that unlike many of the pieces we've played before, we've heard other people play it now several times. And that's a really unique, just a unique angle to hear and experience it from. And I'm just wondering what, like, you know, Ning, Laura, Russell, what you guys think. And then Natasha, you've also seen other people play this. I know they were students, but I think they did a really good job. So I don't know.
It's interesting. That's a good point. Like when I see other students do it, I'm like, and related to your comment, Natasha, of like you're writing for specific people. It's like, are they embodying us? Like, there's a Russell down there, there's Ning version 2 or something. I never see it that way. I just see it as like, oh, they really put in a lot of time and like they're sounding really good. And what a crazy piece. It's nice to hear it from the outside.
I want to say that, there are parts of the piece that that is actually really hard for me to like I remember practicing really hard to be able to again sing at the right pitch with the right syllable, and then not mess up the playing, on the Glock. And I remember totally stressing out about that part. But then when I watched the performance at the Institute, I just thought, oh my goodness, the next generation, they are so good. They're already past, that confidence and sort of just, having a lot of humor within themselves while acting in certain way was really just remarkable.
That is a cool difference, though, between like, you wrote it for us, Natasha, and so like we, kind of hacked it out with you and rehearsed and did it. And then for the students, we're like, you're going to play this, and like we assign it. And that's such a different, like, it's such a different vibe, such a different relationship,
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat.
But they really committed to it.
Yeah.
Like both groups that have played this was like, wow, I was super impressed. Like they really got it, I feel like.
Good chip choice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job, but this is like a thing that I've been actually thinking about a lot lately. It's just like how to deal with the ongoing life of pieces. Because there's like a performance practice that builds around pieces that have, kind of weird material that's maybe slightly atypical in it. And I'm like kind of in both worlds as to whether I think that performance practice should just continue to like solidify or if it should be more something that's deliberately driven to be super malleable. And the problem with having a performance practice that's intentionally malleable is it makes it a lot harder for performers to play the piece. Like they have to, communicate with me a lot and I have to go back and forth with them. And it's really annoying actually, like in a lot of ways. And a lot of ensembles, I think, just want to play the piece and do it because it's fun and because they want to play the piece, which is great. And I want them to play the piece. So I don't know. Yeah, I go back and forth about that a lot. It's a little different with the Student Institute because it's like an assignment for them. But ensembles that just want to play the piece, it's like, I don't know. I think that process can be a little bit frustrating. So I've been kind of going back and forth about that recently.
I mean, that's like the whole thing with like, I guess, notated music almost, or classical music, right? It's like, should we repeat this piece or is it our performance practice, right? Is that kind of what you're thinking about?
What do you mean?
Like, you're questioning whether you even want other ensembles to play these hyper-specific pieces? Is that?
No. I mean, I'm always happy when ensembles play pieces that are written for other ensembles. I guess I just mean whether I should tell. So like some of my pieces have head gestures in them. So should I tell them how to do those head gestures or should I let them figure out their own way to do it, which can lead to good results or it could lead to frustration on the part of the performers. And also like the electronics involved with that. Do I want to give them like a specific way that they have to do the electronics, or if they, a lot of groups now have electronics people in them, do I want to just let them figure it out with the possibility that it might not be like the thing that I had in mind, or it might be more difficult for them to figure out what if I rather than if I just gave them like a very specific set of instructions that they fulfilled, you know.
Got
I
it.
don't know. It's just like a ongoing debate that I have with myself.
Yeah. I feel like like video documentation has become an additional part of that. Like if there's a video available, it can be kind of referenced by other ensembles. And then the question is like, should we attempt to recreate this document, or should we find our own performance practice with the piece?
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
interesting. I mean, because we arrived at what we arrived at because we started from zero, right? And maybe that process is super important in realizing these things.
Yeah, but I guess there's just like a lot of other stuff that, you know, I'm sure you guys remember there was like probably patch things and then like figuring out how to like set up the pedals or whatever. I remember there was too many pedals at some point.
Yeah, there's
Symbols.
pedals. Like what symbol? What does this symbol mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well, so actually, I think like I've gotten a lot of, I've got a lot of shit about not like putting all the symbols in my keys, but I think it's kind of maybe something I do slightly subconsciously on purpose so that people have to communicate with me about pieces. That's what I've been saying lately. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. But.
Well, then you know too, like if they're really preparing well, like, oh, I didn't get an email.
Yeah.
It's like the
But actually, I should
clause.
probably just make like have full key so that, you know, if they don't want to talk to me, they can still do the piece, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at the score, and I noticed there wasn't a key, and I think there's even some pages that don't even have the title on it, and I'm like, what piece is this?
Wait, really? There's no key?
No, there's no key. At least in the version that I have in our folder that says.
Yes, there is. It says right here,
music.
key. A plus and O in the percussion part indicates a momentary pressing of the pedal.
Gotta
There's a
find
key
that.
right there.
I think of the percussion instruments maybe.
The
But
3-line staff in the percussion tone part reads from
Oh,
bottom
we
to
need
top.
this revised version.
yeah.
It's not revised.
Russell's not prepared.
So we actually have a question from one of our viewers, and I have a feeling I know who this person is. So here comes the question. Boyce asks, what inspired the long, awkward pause in the middle of the work? An homage to Cage?
I'm very disappointed that this was not an excerpt that we played, by the way. I'm just But I thought that Yarnwire did a wonderful job freezing during that excerpt. And you can tell that I didn't stop the video because the triangle keeps moving.
That's right.
Actually, that was my big realization, was that I think the game was actually the homage to Cage.
Oh,
I
that
think,
makes sense.
and that's why because I always wondered why I had that game in there, and then I remembered that it's possible that it was because this was like a Cage festival. But no, the long awkward pause, dude, I have no idea. I just really wanted that there, and I wanted it to be like so long, and you guys did it so long. It was so
So uncomfortable.
I love how it is on YouTube. It seems like something's wrong. Like when you
know.
watch a video of it, and you're
Yeah.
like, man, what's going on with this video? But it's playing. Like, and so that's a totally different vibe than a live performance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I really like it on the video. It looks
Really nice.
And actually, I watched this piece like a couple of years ago, and I hadn't watched it in like 8 years. And I totally had forgotten about that part, and I thought the video had frozen.
Nice.
And I kept
You fooled
refreshing
yourself.
it.
I love it. There's a piece that Natasha wrote for my ensemble, and we were doing it in recording and trying to figure out how long this like multi-repeat would be. And I think the instruction you gave us, Natasha, was like, do it for so long that it just feels like stupidly uncomfortable, like in sound world, and then just like double that. Which she did. It was really long. I think it was like 2.5 minutes of the same.
It was
same
so
2 bars.
long. It was great.
I'm wondering though, maybe we can jump into just a little chat about that game now that the connections have been made, placing its significance. Does someone want to explain what the game was, how it was happening, what was happening?
Oh, I think that was like my own private game. That I was having a game with myself, but somehow I looked kind of angry there. I don't know why. It's like so much like, you know.
Really stressful playing a game with
I,
yourself.
yeah. So yeah, that part I have no idea why I was doing that. Instead of having a sort of fun, relaxing game, I looked very like almost like, I needed a result. Of course, there was no
Yeah.
specific
Are you trying
result
to
that
complete something?
I
Like
don't
complete
think
the
so.
set, I think.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I remember that being a thing actually. Like you like wanted to have something that you were going for, and so we came up with like a set of rules that you would try to accomplish. I kind of remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But you leave it up to the
Yeah.
performer. Technically, I think it's like play a game with rules of your own devising or something like that.
Yeah.
I just remember this from having coached this very recently with the game part, and the player of your partning devised some rules that might have never resulted in the completion of the set. And I remember, like, in a rehearsal, he was very literal with completing the set by the rules, and it was like a 10-minute game. It was like, after a couple of minutes, maybe you should just artificially win the game.
I think that's what I did. I think I artificially won my game. Yeah.
do you remember what the rules of your game were, Ning? Do you feel comfortable sharing them with us?
I need to call one of the
One of the old names.
no, one of like the our institute participants because I don't remember the rules. At least not my own rule.
I guess that's the beauty of having a game with rules that you can like devise anew each time, is you don't
Yeah.
have to remember them. Well, so one other question that I had, Ning, you had mentioned that like there was a lot of the performance material that felt very stressful, and just now that like you felt like you looked very angry during the game, and I feel like there's so much like adrenaline happening in, I mean, especially the first chunk of the piece, and these like ringing high partials going on for a really long time, and I'm wondering if you guys felt any sort of like deep changes in your bodies, or like what happened physically going from something that was such like an adrenaline inducing sound world and adrenaline inducing performance, like into the last excerpt that we watched where you're sitting around like watching YouTube videos together. How did that shift manifest itself in you guys?
There's a sense of relief.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, the chamber music portion of the evening is over, and now I get chips. This
A
piece is
reward,
really
you
just
know?
about chips, and yeah, I mean, it goes from being okay, yeah, we gotta like stay together. The cues need to happen. I need to listen, and in my part, it feels very groovy. Also, like, I don't know if anyone's really grooving as a listener, but like I feel kind of a groove, and like this on and off kind of thing that's happening with the electronics and stuff. It's really fun, and then it just melts into Ning's game, and I feel like I'm like my consciousness is melting at that moment, and then then we get to just relax at the end. So that you're totally right. There's this like total physical change in how at least I feel in my part. Yeah, it kind of goes from stressful or something to TV time.
Perhaps I should say I'm not like completely stressed out, like playing like a correct lick or something. I just felt like I think at that moment my body was like trying to go opposite of what I wanted to do. So it was just like, so yeah, it's not really stress. It's just that, wow, I need to do this. It's like rubbing the tummy in one direction and your head the other direction kind of way. But I think all that had a really great effect on just the theatric shift of the piece from one section to the other. I think all of our bodies, just because physically we're doing something somehow different, and then that last moment we all walking towards something and sitting together and then just relaxing. It's like, yeah, it's like there's a lot of like physical changes. I think it was very theatrical, very interesting.
And in these different, I feel like when I listen to the piece, it seems as though there's very strictly delineated sections that kind of borrow material or borrow like a physical vibe from one another. Natacha, would you want to maybe describe to us what's happening with the overall boundaries of material in the piece and how they're connecting?
Yeah, it's pretty blocky. I mean, I think Russell really hit it on the head. Like it's, it starts off as this like really dense sound cloud, and the rest of the piece is really just about dissolving that sound cloud until you eat chips, which is the most important part of the piece. But yeah, and I mean, I think that maybe this piece was also about having like little sections for each, like little sonic ideas for each member of Yarn Wire. And yeah, they kind of exploded into these sections that overlapped with each other and culminated in everybody hanging out together.
Yeah, and a lot of I'm looking here at some of these comments, and Charlotte has mentioned the sounds kind of like the end of the colors don't match, and there's a lot of sounds, the singing on note names but on the wrong notes sometimes, and some of the sampled sounds sounded very familiar to me. Colors Don't Match is another piece of Natasha's for the uninitiated who are soon to be initiated from 2014. And I'm wondering, and you had mentioned something about camera and video, I'm wondering how this piece has continued in your work, or if there are elements of this piece that have manifested into different larger things, or how you'd kind of trace this piece on a larger scale of your work.
Yeah, I steal vociferously from myself. Is that the right word for that? So that section, yeah, so this part that Ning does actually kind of turned into that big section in Colors Don't Match. I think I got the timeline on that right. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked. And yeah, I think that I really value stealing from my other pieces and putting them into new pieces and kind of having the opportunity to explode those ideas. Especially at this time of my writing, I was writing very quickly, and I think that for me, stealing ideas from one piece and taking them into others was a way of further developing that material in a way that felt really satisfying. And I still like to do that. I mean, and I also like being able to kind of trace the lineage, not the lineage, that sounds so lofty. It's just like trace the evolution of these ideas and to see how they can turn into something else through other performers and through other ensembles. I wish I could, I know that I know that the percussion stuff came from somewhere, or maybe it didn't. I don't know. Maybe I can't totally remember. It might have had us starting in a disclavier quartet piece that I wrote. Some of it, I don't really remember, but or it might have. This might have been its first leg. But the Ning Glock thing, that was the first leg of that, and then that turned into Colors Don't Match.
Can I ask a follow-up question, actually? I'm just curious, because I know, Natasha, your later work has had, you use video so intensively, and a lot of your works are even primarily video. Like, in terms of just that element of Panic Bread, was that near the beginning of your work with video? Like where were you on your sort of video journey at that point in 2012?
Yeah, totally. I think that's actually the first time I used a camera when I videoed you guys. I wasn't joking about that. And yeah, I think like that might have been the first video collage I ever made also, but I'm not totally sure about that. But right around the time that I wrote you guys this piece, I also started doing trailers for Pamplemousse shows and for the, you know, that kind of stuff. And that was my first introduction into real video. Like before that, I had just been making GIFs and stuff like that. And then that was actually the kind of the source of my diving into video, was just these stupid GIFs that I made.
I love getting those, Natasha. Don't ever stop. I look forward to that in my
made
inbox.
half of one for Thanksgiving, but I didn't finish it because I got tired and went to bed.
That's a good reason.
Maybe I'll finish it for New Year's or something.
There you go.
Awesome.
So when we're kind of in this like flashback mode right now, and I want to know if we can like flashback. Ian, you had kind of alluded to this on Natasha's website in the description of the piece. It does mention, that the premiere took place on the night that Hurricane Sandy hit, and I'm wondering if you guys could talk a little bit more about that. I know that you had mentioned, Ian, that it was like kind of a strange, special, weird vibe in the performance setting. Did that influence your guys' preparation of the piece at all? Or, I guess the other thing is like in a piece that deals with like panic, both from like large scale herd panic and lonely spots panic, did that make a connection at all, or how did that play out on the eve of the hurricane?
I think we didn't know, right? That was
Yeah.
that was like, we actually weren't even sure that the concert was gonna happen the morning of that morning. I think we got final word in the afternoon that the concert was a go, right?
I looked back in my emails and there was an email from Andrew Smith, like midday, that was like, the concert is still on or something.
Hey, Andrew.
What's that?
Just shouting out to Andrew.
Oh, yeah. But I don't think we knew much. This was in 2012, so the days before meteorology existed. And I don't think we had too much advance notice about Sandy, but I just don't think it played into the preparation of the piece at all. But I do remember the evening itself was kind of fraught from a number of angles. Like, should we do this? I don't know when we would do it next if it doesn't happen now, sort of thing. So
I remember that. We had that. We had this last March, and I feel like there's one other time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just those two. Those are pretty big events. And like, I feel like I was feeling it at the performance, but I might just be putting that over, now with knowledge of Sandy. But it was stressful. We're like, we shouldn't be here. At least that's what I thought. I was like, I don't think we should be doing this. Like, the things are shutting down. Because in between every piece, we're like, I feel like we were checking, and there were new news flashes and stuff like that. But you're right. When else would we have done it?
Yeah. Yeah, when
Right.
you
To
work
be
so
in
hard
Brooklyn
to
Heights
premiere.
too, right on the river. And
Yeah.
I think
Right.
I actually had a concert on the 30th. I don't remember if it was the 29th or 30th, but yeah, the subways were shut down. But it was uptown, so you're kind of elevated. It felt
Yeah.
a little. Still had to like walk for an hour to get there. But.
Yeah.
But
really weird.
it had this there was this very cozy vibe at the same time, because, people that were there came because they really wanted to be there. They either lived in the neighborhood or they'd made a special effort to drive themselves or to make sure they could be there. And so I think even though it was stressful, it was also, there was that like tinge of like happy, like togetherness at the same time. Like, we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm. New music or
Yeah.
die.
I have that written on my shirt.
yeah.
I guess in the So we flashed back. Let's maybe like flash forward for a hot second here as we begin to wrap up, which means if you are listening and you want to ask a question you haven't, you should do it really soon. But I wonder, Natasha, do you have anything coming up that you'd want to share with us, with the world? Same goes for you, Yarnwire friends.
Yes. On December 12th and 13th, a billboard truck will be driving around 4 of the boroughs of New York City with a new video with Jack Quartet on it. Nice. And we'll be stopping at various locations, and the route will be revealed not too publicly.
Including the locations of stoppage?
Yes.
Oh, and where
Nice.
can we find that information, Natasha? Can we go to your website and it'll be available there, or
Or is that a secret?
is it a secret where the information, if people are interested?
The Stop and Shop website.
I think the Jack
House
Quartet
background.
website will definitely have the most up-to-date information on it.
Great.
It's in a bag of chips.
And a bag of chips. Yes.
There's a golden
That's
ticket. in your-
jackquartet.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got feedback episodes Thursday
Until-
and
yeah.
Friday.
Till the eye can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Busy week. Busy
Yeah.
feedback week.
Oh, and I am doing an excellent feedback episode on Friday
That's right.
That's right.
with
Yeah.
Oyvind Torvund.
Yeah, that'll be
That's
fun.
Tune in on that day.
Yeah. We just did a set of recordings, and I think we're going to be doing some more in January, so stay tuned on those. You know, that seems to be kind of all we can do right now is video and audio documentation of stuff until, you know,
Until
till we
further
get a shot.
notice. Until they make outdoor pianos that are easily transported. I guess they're called keyboards, but so
I was
with
just kind of
that,
envisioning something kind of like a trampoline, but it's a piano, and
yeah.
I'm just gonna go with that. Not a keyboard,
Go
trampoline
with
piano.
it. Well, I think that's about all the time we've got for today. So I just want to say absolutely a huge thank you again to you, Laura, and to you, Natasha, for both joining us. And as Natasha said, not only do we have episodes on Thursday this week, but all through December, we are going to be featuring feedback as well on Fridays at the same bat time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Thursday, we'll be chatting with Klaus Lang and Stephen Miles. And on Friday, again, as Natasha said, we'll be back here with her and the composer Oyvind Torvund. So don't forget, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss an episode. And to support this project, we encourage you to visit our page at patreon.com. In exchange for your support, you can get pretty cool benefits, access to ringtones, tote bags, download codes, and
Instructions on Ning's game.
maybe even we'll get Ning to dredge up the
Whoa.
instructions
Yeah.
for her game for you.
How about my singing for your ring?
Solo.
Yep.
We'll have Ning sing for your ringtone. So again, thanks to you all. Thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.